everyone, I'm just showing you how to put together a paper rose. I have recreated this design in Design Space and will freely share with you upon request. So alrighty, so what this does, it will cut 6 large petals, 8 medium petals and 10 smaller petals along with a backing circle. So I'm just going to step by step through the process. So my first step in the process is just to put 2 of my small petals aside because I'll process them a little bit differently, and I'll just halve these. I'm just going to use the end of a paintbrush. You can use a wooden dowel or a glue stick or something like a bone folder or something like that if you like, but this is just easier for me and I've already got it in hand. So for the small ones, I'm just going to start by curling in, move them ones out of the way, so curling them in at the sides. So just on a slight angle, we're just going to curl them in sort of like that. No real process or anything other than that for those ones. So once again, we just curl them in, and I just sort of wrap it around my paintbrush a little when I curl them. So that's them ones curled in. The next one being the medium ones. I'll come back to the other 2 small ones, but the next medium ones, I curl essential. I kind of fold the middle a little so I get like a center divot. You can probably just use a big wooden dowel or just curl it but you just sort of want a divot there, and then I curl the flower petals out instead of in. So where we've rolled them in before, we're just rolling them out so that it's off to the edges. So once again, just roll them out and just make sure, so when you look at it, it has sort of like a wave effect, and we do that for both. I mean, the process is pretty much the same with the larger petals as well. So once again, just give it a nice center fold or crease wave and then roll out. Rolling out. I like to try and curl all mine at the beginning because then you can just assemble and it makes it pretty quick. And then these remaining 3, same process, just give it a nice bit of shape. I just sort of curl it all into a nice arch. I don't know if you can see that it's shaped that way. And then just the outer petals, just a slight curl. As with all paper petals, you'll be able to adjust when you're putting it together. This is just to get the basic shape so that it works. So just give it a bit of a shape to the center of it and then curl out and curl out. So you end up with 6 large ones. Once again, waved in the middle here and curled out. We have 8 medium, wavy in the center and curled out. And here we have 8 little that have been just curled sort of in like that. Our last one, we're going to do the last 2, very similar to the other ones. We want to curl their flower petals out a little bit because we're going to try and create some dimension and a little bit curly in the center. So we don't want to keep him so rigid, so he can just have like a little bit of a wave, not a lot. He doesn't need as much curling, but we'll put them two to the side because they're a little bit different with assembly. So we'll start by the 4 of the first 8 of a small, and we're going to create a cross here. So just take your glue gun, press that down, and just create a cross. Alrighty, so once we've got that, you just sort of pick 2 flowers, and what you want to do is you want to kind of come at it in opposites. So you want this one here to be over the top of this one, and this one to be over the top of that one, so that it's sort of like a hug, if that makes sense. It's okay to have a little bit of a gap at the top, and so you just take a little bit of glue and a little bit of glue, and just hold that, hold them in just so that we make sure that we get them nice and stuck down. Try not to get any glue on your hands. Once you feel like that's quite secure, hang on, this one doesn't feel very secure right now, I mustn't have got enough glue on it. So I'm just holding this in. If you get a little bit of glue stringing in the middle, it's okay, because once you build your petals around this bit here, you're only going to see the top part here. You're not going to see down the sides here. So the next one, you want to do the similar thing, that kind of hugging effect. So you don't want to glue these bits here to the sides here. You want to just glue them to each other, just so that this center cone part just fits inside, and progressively you will add more and more space between what you're doing. So I'll just do one side and then I'll come and do the other, because I find it sometimes hard to hold and press the glue down. Oh, of course, always happens when you are filming. Okay, so we'll do that one again, because I obviously didn't hold it tight enough. Sometimes I find that it helps to just grab some tweezers to sort of pinch it, because I can't really get my fingers in there. Just to pinch it enough. And I'll put some glue on this here. Doesn't take a lot of glue. If you can get your fingers in, give it a nice pinch. And that's just a really basic starting. I don't really think that there's any rules around how it should look at the beginning. And then you're going to create another cross. And you're going to do the same thing. So we're just going to glue some on the bottom. And pop him down in the center, as centermost as you can, but as you all know that there's no symmetry in Mother Nature, so it doesn't really matter too much. And then because this direction was the last lot to fold, this one will be the next one we will do. So as we get further away, we're just going to have to start attaching them to the sides, because if we keep too closed, it'll not look like a bud. So we're just going to put them together on the outside. So I'm just going to start by doing this one here first. Just a dab of glue. This is very similar, if anyone's on Cricut for Australians and has watched the tutorial that Jules did, it's a very similar process. It's just the outer petals that are slightly different in terms of process. So we'll just hold these where they need to go. Once again, if you get some glue down the bottom, it won't really matter, because you're only going to really be able to see the top. You're not going to be able to see down the bottom here. So, sorry, just getting some glue off my fingers. Always happens. I get nice new nails and then I glue myself. It's inevitable. Alrighty, so then we're going to turn it around. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to pop them out a little bit more. So each time we're just getting further and further apart. So a little squirt on each of them. We're just going to hold them. Just long enough to stick. Once again, a little stop on each one. And just hold that till it dries. So it probably doesn't look much like a bud at the moment, but by the time you add all the other bits, it's going to look good. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to pop these ones here on, but they're going to look slightly different. So I'm just going to pull them out a little, oops, one side, just to give them some space. And we're doing them on the opposite direction of the ones that we just pulled up, so just pushing down on it a little. Now with these ones, we kind of want to just give the bottom, so this part here, glue this part here, so that these petals stick out a little bit more. So we're only going to put some glue on these bottom little corners. And push them into the flower, just so that you get that concaved sort of look to it. So just going to hold them where they need to be, just so they stick. And other side, we're just going to do a dab here and a dab there. And we just pinch it a little bit so that they sit out. So I probably should have done a different colored piece of paper, but this is the color I was kind of going for my craft room. So I wanted to be able to use these in my craft space. So just making sure that last layer is just glued. Seems pretty well attached. So then next we're going to get is the small layers, and what we're actually going to do is we're going to try and work with these on a diagonal so that they're not in the same spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them diagonally on here, and this is part that is slightly different to Jules's tutorial because I think at this point she still builds it similar to the process here. So what I am going to do is just put a couple of bits of glue here just so that it will hold, and I'm just going to pop a little bit on and another bit on. And there's nothing wrong with Jules's tutorial. I just found that I liked this. It showed me a little bit fuller, but you know, Jules's flowers came out amazing, which goes to prove that, you know, there's no one way to do flowers and everyone likes a different template. So I'm just gonna put some pressure on the bottom there just so that I make sure it's glued very well, which it appears to have. And what we're going to do is we're going to go around similar fashion, but we're just going to essentially, we're going to take, we're not going to glue these to this part here, we're going to glue them to each other. So you're going to sort of pick where you want them to sit, and sort of like we did with the dahlia flower, one will go in front of the other, and you just sort of glue them that way. So I'll show you what I mean when I'm not gluing myself. Actually, we'll glue these first lot and then we'll do that process for the second lot. It's really subjective, but just the same we did, a little bit down the bottom. So we're just gonna attach that to the bottom. Make sure it sticks. Now there'll be some trimming that I'll do very shortly. I probably could have gotten away with doing it earlier because we're working on those diagonals. We're sort of playing with the corners of the original bud, so I'll be trimming them in a minute just so we can get a nice rounder look. And then, oh, stick. The glue is quite hot, so you just have to sort of be patient with it and put as much pressure on as you can without getting any hot glue on your fingers, because otherwise you will burn yourself, and that is not fun. So we'll put a little dab here and a dab here. I'm no professional at this, so please, if you know something that works better, let me know. So I'm just putting some pressure on it down the bottom. And at the moment it's looking really tight, but once we add the other petals, it will work fine. We're just kind of creating that fullness. And then a little bit down the bottom and a little bit here. Just don't burn yourself. And we're just doing that pinch. So the more concaved it is, the better. because it kind of gives more shape to the flower. Hope that's all stuck. Now this is the shaping part that I was telling you about. You can see here we've got all weird angles, so I'm just going to grab my scissors where I put them and just snip away at the really awkward, harsh lines. And this doesn't really matter because essentially we're going to put more petals over the top of it, so you're not going to see these bits here, but it just helps create a circle now instead of a square that we had before. So you can do this one step earlier before you put these diagonals on, but then these ones here, our last four are going to go in the opposite diagonal. So so going back to the direction we originally came in. So just gluing the petals on. And in these ones you just put it on the edges here, you don't put it all the way to the center because otherwise they will not fold up enough. So just put some pressure on these just to make sure they're nice and glued down. Doesn't matter if you get a little bit of seepage of the glue over the edges, because at the end we will cover the back with the circle, so that won't be visible in the end. We just want to make sure it's nice and adhered well for now, and you don't want it to be wet glue when you put it back on your table because you'll end up gluing it to your table. So now we've got this stage. This is the one where we'll attach it to each other. So we're just going to start at one side and we're literally just going to attach one petal to the other. So in this instance we're just going to hover it out a little bit, like maybe, I don't know how much my fingers are just not working. So it's just hovering a little bit out, like it's not right up there next to this petal, but it's out enough that it's going to look like a natural flower. So that sits there. Now in this instance I did this petal on top of this one, so when I turn it around I'm going to do this petal on top of this one, so the overlap will happen that way. So I'll put some glue on that petal and hold these two together here. Whilst that's setting. Same deal, I'm going to put the glue on this one and put this one on top of this one, because that's sort of my process. It's not a rule, it's just I think it looks really nice. So I'm just adding that, making sure it stays glued. And then once again put a little bit of glue here on this petal and put this one over the top. So I will just reach and hold them together. And the magic really happens when the next layer happens, because we're adding in, instead of 4 petals in each row, we're going to add in the 6 petals. So whilst that's drying, I'll just, so now when we turn it over, we've got this slightly weird shape. So I'm just going to start by adding the petals, but because we're adding 6, it's not fully diagonal in all places, so I'm going to add 2 in the diagonal. So two directly opposite each other in the corners in between. And then the next ones we're going to try and place it, but we want to try and place it so that they sit underneath each other. So this one here we're going to sit here so that we can get the next one, so that we can get the next one in. So now because this one's under, we want to try and put this one under and on here. And then as we turn it, we're going to do a similar, oops, wrong way. Now because this one's over, we want this one to be under. So I'm going to add that in. And then lastly, we need to try and put this one under and the other one over. So we kind of have a little quilted effect. And I'm just going to press down on these sections just to make sure they're adhered. And then from here, it's really just going to be lifting the petals up and just gluing them in place. So you just want to give them some dimension, and by doing that, you're literally just going to bring, say, two, and you're just going to squeeze them in a little bit and then glue them. So what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of glue on the underneath. Just think it's a lot neater that way. And then hold, pinch and hold two together. Once again, a little bit of glue on the one that's underneath. Bring it up, pinch and hold. And you don't need to glue the whole part, just a little section so that the flower petals can still keep their shape. So it's literally just a little dab of glue, and I just pull that up into the center of the flower, but I allow the rest of the petals to just keep their shape. So it still has a curve here. And then nearly finished. I mean, I guess you could probably, if you like, you could do like another layer of the 6 large petals, but I don't really think it's necessary as such. It just might be a nice little, I don't know, might make it a nice fuller flower to have some petals down the bottom that aren't as stand up, and I don't even know, they aren't as dimensional maybe if you put them. So, and then up, and then now that they're all glued together, before we have the final masterpiece, we just glue this backing. You can make this backing out of like more proper cardstock, just to give it, depending on what you're going to put it on, just to give it a little bit more strength for adhering it to a wall. But I've had no problems with paper backing. And there we have it, a large paper rose. And obviously once you're here, you can curl them out a little if you like, or in more, you can sort of create some shape and go from there. Anyway guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.